My name is Crystal Petrie, and you are watching another episode of the Crystal Petrie Podcast, Season 3. Today, we are talking about diving into the art of leading boldly without the burnout.
Mhm.
Leadership doesn't have to mean exhaustion, it can mean balance, clarity, and impact when done correctly. Today, we'll unpack how to step into your power as a leader while protecting your energy and building a sustainable path forward. And here to educate us on all things leadership without the burnout, we have
Mhm.
Sherrika Sanders. So, welcome to the podcast, Sherrika.
Thank you for having me, Crystal. I am so excited to be here and so excited to have this conversation.
I feel like a conversation that is well overdue.
Yes,
Well overdue. So, where in the world are you, Miss Sharika?
I am in Atlanta, Georgia. And for those who are familiar, I am actually in Atlanta, not one of the metro surrounding
It needed to be said.
cities. Yeah.
It needed to be said. I know
Mhm.
exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so Miss Sanders, what does it mean to lead boldly in today's world?
So there's a term that we hear a lot, and I've honestly gotten to the point where I'm trying to take it out of my vocabulary, and that's authenticity or being authentic because it's like, well, what is that exactly? But being standing up and leading unapologetically. Goodness,
Hmm.
I can type it, but I can't say it. But and that means that you show up as a leader. You're doing what's right, not what's popular. You're keeping the person in mind, whether the person is you as well as your team versus the burnout, the goals, the timelines. All of those things matter, but really just making sure that you show up in your truest form without explanation and without compromise.
Oh, wow. That was, oh, I don't know if people are doing that. I don't think a lot of people are doing that, Miss Sanders, without compromise and without explanation.
Right,
I don't know if they're
right.
doing that. How is bold leadership different from other versions of leadership?
I think that's a great question. And there was, and I was a part of that at one point, this whole hustle culture of the harder you work means that the better employee you are. The more hours you put in was automatically associated with your worth or your value as an employee. And it was doing more is how you showed up, so to speak, versus this is my job, this is what I do. I'm going to do 110% at my job because that's just the kind of person that I am. But I'm going to also be able to have my boundaries. And that's something that we're starting to see more so in leaders today than before. It was like being a leader automatically meant that you had to work the long hours. It automatically meant that, you had to always be available no matter what. And in that mindset, it was, I'm just doing it now until I get there.
Mhm.
But no matter how high you went on the totem pole, you still kept those same bad habits. Versus now, more leaders are showing up and establishing their boundaries up front. They're telling you in the interview, like, this is when I'm available. They're taking the PTOs and actually being off, not, oh, I'm going on vacation, but feel free to call me anytime you want. And I have my laptop and all of these different things. And so, really, just prioritizing your own well being.
Why is it that bold leadership often comes with higher risk of burnout?
And bold leadership, well, first of all, leadership is servanthood. And in servanthood, it's not about you, the leader, it's about bettering the people around you and supporting and serving the people around you. And what that means is that when they have questions, you're there to help. You're there to guide your amendments of the leadership. a lot of energy. It could take a lot of energy, and it could take a little bit of extra time. And so today's leader, who isn't just focused on getting the goals done of the organization, but also focused on the people themselves, tend to use more of their time and spend more of their time because they're like, oh, well, you said, call you whenever I needed something. And I need something right now on Friday night at, 8 o'clock. And so I wanted to give you the call.
Wow.
And you try to honor that, but it all goes back still to speaking up for yourself and setting those boundaries. But I think that's how we kind of get into that mold of it, because we want to be there and we want to show that we're supporting, but we're not putting the boundaries in place that are necessary to support ourselves.
Speaking of boundaries, I saw something on social media, and of course, you can't believe everything you see on social media. I always like to throw that out there.
Mhm.
But an employee had put on their page an email that they got from their boss or their executive, their leader, whatever. At the end of so they didn't show the entire email. They showed the end of the email. The
Mhm.
end of the email said, and this was from the person's boss.
Mhm.
It said, I'm sending this email at a time that's convenient and and I'm emotionally available to send it. You respond to the email when it's convenient and you are emotionally able to respond to the email.
Oh, wow.
Talk about boundaries.
I
Like,
thought we were going to go completely separate, way somewhere else
right,
with that.
right, right, right. I have never, and you are in this field, Sherrika, I've never seen
No,
a leader or an employee
no,
send an with that at the bottom, giving
no.
you the the grace and the safe space to
Yes,
respond to the email when you are ready to respond to the email,
yes.
because they have set boundaries not just for them, but
Hmm.
they've set the boundary for you as the employee as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely, absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely. Talk about servanthood, and
Yes.
consideration. That's amazing.
Yes. Yes. If I can find that, I'm gonna send it to you. I'll send it to you so you can see it. It was amazing.
Yes, please.
Uh, Now, Miss Sanders, tell us, how did you get into this space of coaching and mentoring about bold leadership without the burnout?
So it was definitely something that I did during my time in corporate. I was in corporate accounting for over 15 years. And even before the leadership titles came, I was always that person to, okay, either the go to person when it came to questions, or
Mhm,
we need to figure out, how to do a thing or make a decision about something. And Sherrika, we need your help. And so always kind of placed in that role. And I think it's just by nature. Some call it a little, I can be a little bossy. If you ask my husband, it's not bossy, but if things need to be done, I'm going to go ahead and get it done. Why do we need to wait for permission? Because there's a lot of times we're waiting for permission. We know we need to do it. Let's get it done. And so I've
mhm,
always been a part of that mindset. And I got into a place in corporate where I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed helping my team, talking about their goals, helping them to reach their goals. But I still wasn't really fulfilled. And I'm like, maybe I've been in this place too long as far as the organization. So I went to another one, and it was fine, better people, better people, but I was still like, something's just off. And so as a woman of faith, I'm like, well, let me pray about it. Let me fast. Let me see what, the direction is. Let me go into the space so God can tell me that magical company that I'm going to go to with all of the freedom and the great team and all of these things. And it was entrepreneurship. And at first I was like, what?
well,
Oh,
that's not
that's
the magical company.
right. Right. That's not, and I'd always been the one to say I would never, ever, ever leave corporate. I'm like, some people are meant to be in corporate. I'm one of those people. I'm never leaving W-2 all day, every day. Like, that's my safe space. Mm-mm. And so to even hear me say it, I was like, no. But what I realized is that I can do more outside than I was doing in, and I can impact more people. And also, it helped me to realize that the different things that I went through being in such a high stress, male dominated environments for the bulk of my career was really what was needed to help other women like me who are trying to make it, the person that I was at that time, honestly.
And how long have you had your own company where you've been a life coach and a mentor?
I've been in this space 3 years now. It's been undescribable because I didn't have expectations, because I've heard so many different stories about people in entrepreneurship and so very different ends of the spectrum. But I knew that I had to do something of impact and I had to do something with transformations. And so why my company is called Transform the Gap, because I know I wanted to speak the transformation, but also gap, is a very well-known accounting term, which is I'm saying the one for my company, but generally accepted accounting principles. And I wanted to kind of speak to my background and give a nod to that. But for my company, it's goals aligned, achieving purpose, because that's what we're doing. We're making sure that we work towards our goals, step into our calling, but understanding that we can be successful, we can show up in our full faith, we can lead in our homes and in our jobs, but without burning out. We can truly have it all and don't feel like we have to sacrifice one thing for the other. And so just being able to really step into that, and it's honestly something at first I was like, Lord, who am I? And he showed me, and as well as all of the things that I'd gone through and all of the transformations that I made myself while I was in the corporate space, and reminded me that this wasn't just for you, but it's for other people as well.
Yes. Let's talk about that burnout that I feel like
Mhm.
maybe you experience in corporate.
Yes.
What are some early warning signs of burnout that leaders should look for?
So, one, listening to our bodies. Our bodies will be the first indicator, and it definitely was for me. But I ignored the signs because I'm like, well, this is the cost of success. Oh, it's fine. And it's things like your consistent headaches. You could
Hmm.
even have certain like pains or different things in your body. You're irritable and you don't really even know why you're irritable, but you are. You're tired, whether you had rest or not. These are all
Right.
the different things that you'll see in your body, but also the way that you show up at work. You'll find more people like, are you okay? Where if you're the one, some people, they have their coffee every morning regardless. But if you're that person like, no, I really, really have to have this in order to make it through the day, or you don't have the same patience or show the
Mhm.
same grace with your team that you used to, you're short tempered. All of these things are really signs of burnout. Luckily, it's something that can be reversed, but these are all signs and things that we'll start to see in ourselves, in our personal and professional life. So when you're burnt out, it doesn't just stay in one place, it impacts our lives as a whole.
Why do leaders, I mean, and I know we're speaking to leaders today, but I feel like anyone that's working, whether you're in corporate or not,
Yeah.
could possibly, experience burnout. Why do high achieving leaders often ignore the signs, the headaches, the exhaustion, the quick temperedness when it
Hmm.
comes to burnout?
Probably because, like me, it's par for the course. This is what comes along with the territory. But we lie to ourselves and we say, well, this is just for now until I get X done or until I meet this particular goal. And then, things will change or then it'll be different. But no, we just keep those same bad habits. And you're absolutely right, because when I first came into entrepreneurship from corporate, I brought all of my same bad habits. I would stay up late, but then I was like, but I'm doing it for me. So it makes sense to do it for me. We give ourselves all these excuses and all of these lies. It's for me. So it makes sense for me to stay up for me because this is for my thing. And I have to show that I'm a good steward of it. And I have to make sure I work hard and put in the hours now so I can reap the benefits later. No, no, and no. I've learned how to operate in my business as a CEO more than the solopreneur, which means I set time aside for those things that are important for me. I stop at a decent hour so I can still spend time with my family. And so it's really just, again, setting those boundaries and prioritizing.
What is the difference, if there is a difference, between healthy stress
Hmm.
and harmful burnout?
There is a difference. There's definitely a difference. Burnout stays. You can have the same symptoms with the healthy stress and the burnout, but the healthy stress is going to be there maybe a day or so until you probably finish that project or until you have that presentation that you were nervous about. The burnout, it stays with you. It doesn't matter. You can be at home resting on a Sunday afternoon and still be sitting there with a headache or getting anxiety thinking about what is on your plate for the next day. And so the burnout piece, it sticks with you, it stays, and over time, it tends to get worse or the symptoms add up. Versus stress is, oh, it's like that for now, but I have completed this particular thing, and now I'm feeling better. Now I do have a relief.
Okay. What myths about burnout do you feel need to be debunked?
That it's okay. And
Oh,
probably because we don't
yes.
call it burnout, I'm a boss, whatever, and so yes, I have a lot of stress. I'm aiming or I'm creating a legacy or I'm a stepping into my millionaire, whatever, and that's great. You can do all of that, but what happens if you're not here to enjoy it? And how selfish are we to sacrifice our time with our family, our friends, and our loved ones for work, for the job, for the chase of material assets. And then as soon as something happens, that those are the people that we expect to drop everything that they're doing to take care of us.
Wow.
So, I think it's just we just get caught up in thinking that it's okay. And especially hustle, like it was people, yeah, you see it on t-shirts and all the I'm a hustler. That's not cool. Like
And the songs and everything.
Right, exactly, exactly. And that's not okay. Self care is okay. You're taking care of yourself, acknowledging that, you know what, I need some time or I need a minute, setting boundaries and having time to just do nothing. Those are things that are okay. They're not selfish, they're not lazy, but you need that time so that you can come back bigger and better than ever, honestly.
Absolutely. Let's move on and talk about the intersection of courage and care. How can
Mm-hmm.
leaders balance being courageous
Mm-hmm.
with being compassionate to themselves?
Yeah. So I think it's part of setting boundaries, but also so the difference, let's say you have a project that you've really been working on. You've done all of the work, you've done the research, you're a major part of why this project was a success. And so then you have to present it, but you're nervous and that's not really what I do. And that is healthy. That is, you know what? Let me work through these fears. Let me work through these emotions because I did a great thing here and I should be able to show that. I should be able to show up for myself and speak to that versus exact same scenario. You're put in a place where, you either have a team or your team has a project. It's out of your wheelhouse. You're not really sure how it's supposed to go, but no one else would take it. And so when you were given the project or your team was given the project, management, because they'll do this, upper management, they may say, oh, you're the best one. You're so smart. We know you can do it. And they'll tell you all these things. And you're like, yeah, I got it. No, you don't. No, no, you don't. That's when you say, you know what? I appreciate the trust that you have in me, but this is not my area of expertise. I'm not even really sure where to start. I don't want to set me and my team up for failure. That's when you speak up for yourself and set that healthy boundary of, you know what, no, this isn't for me, versus I just need to get out of my own way and show up for myself.
Does emotional intelligence have anything to do? And I'm going to ask about all three of kind of the terms we've been talking about. Does
Okay.
emotional intelligence have anything to do with burnout, compassion, or care as a leader?
Absolutely. Absolutely. With emotional intelligence, we know our triggers. We understand our boundaries. We can tell when we're getting stressed or when, we just need a minute. And when we ignore those things and just keep moving forward. If I feel like, you know what, this has been a tough day, things just haven't gone right, I'm really stressed right now, and now I'm about to go into this team meeting and share with the team some, unfavorable results, I probably need to step back. My emotional intelligence will tell me, go take a walk or take 5 minutes, go sit in your car. If you're at home, step away, do something so that when you come back, you can deliver the message and not the emotion. Because what happens is we take emotional intelligence out of it, or we think it's not important, and then we show up and we're accusatory and we talk at people, to them, and we don't give grace, and we act like we don't understand, if there was a mistake. And so I think it's absolutely important, not just in those things, but honestly in how we communicate as a whole.
Right. Does vulnerability help you be a better, bold leader?
Yes. Yes, it does. Vulnerability is a sign of strength. It increases trust because people see that you are showing up in your truest form, and they can respect that. They can appreciate that versus getting your representative 24/7. Um, it's not a sign of weakness, but what it is a way of saying that I am confident enough in me that I can speak up for me and tell you how I feel without being concerned about your impression of me changing.
What are some daily practices or maybe some weekly suggestions that you can give to leaders
Mhm.
who are watching you, who are listening to this podcast right now, that is going to help them show up?
Absolutely. So, a couple of things. Time management is a major one. For
Okay.
me, I like to write everything down. I put everything in my calendar, and so when I say everything, it means if I have an appointment, I don't just block my calendar at 9:30 to 10:30 for a 1 hour appointment. No, it's going to take me 45 minutes to get there. I may have to wait a little bit, and then afterwards, I may want to pick up some lunch, and so I'm going to block time for me to do all of those things. That way, if I don't do it, then I have that time maybe to do something else or just to enjoy me. But if I want to do those, it's there, and I'm not trying to rush from this thing to that thing to the other. And so I think really being aware of our time and managing our time and not feeling like we have to block off every hour, every minute needs to be busy, busy, busy. So that's definitely one. A lot of people, it's true physical self care, which is, manicures or pedicures or massages or any of those things where you can just sit and not have to think about anything at all and really can just let your mind wander for that hour or 30 minutes or whatever it is. So, or a nice bath, late at night. So that's definitely one. Again, a woman of faith. So when I start my morning, I need my time with God, whether it's 15 minutes or an hour. I need my time to just be thankful, but also just get me, I guess, centered, I will say,
Hmm.
and prepared for the day, and just giving me a calm, or if I'm listening to, music or praise and worship, just get me in the right mindset to go, because our attitudes can be really contagious. And when you show up somewhere and you're grumpy and you're growling, it just flows to everyone else versus if you're ready to go, ready to get, it's like when things happen, you know what? It's fine because I already started off with a great foundation for the day. So that's another one. And then I think groups. So whether
Mhm.
it's a mentor one-on-one, whether it's a mentoring group, whether it's a walking group, but finding like-minded individuals. My daughter made a comment the other day, which actually I kind of gave her a side. I was like, what? Because she plays volleyball, and I went to get her from her club volleyball practice, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, we can leave," and I'm like, "Oh, we always leave. What are you talking about?" She was like, "No, I don't have to wait for you to spend the next 20 minutes still talking to the other moms, and I'm in the car ready to go." And I was like,
She's just gonna do you like that, Sherrika.
right, right, right. Like, and it was so at first I was really aggravated by it because I'm like, she doesn't realize the therapy that comes in
Right.
those sessions when we have those conversations. And so it's but finding, those type of environments, but also making sure you set the boundaries because you can have the environment, you can have that women's group or those group of friends, and then say, oh, I gotta go because I need to go run around, I need to go do this, I have to go get back on the computer. So you have to make sure none of it works if you're not disciplined enough to put those boundaries in place and show up for you.
How do you decide what's a bold yes versus a protective no, which leans back into setting your boundaries?
Yep, absolutely. Uh, um, a bold yes is it may make me a little uncomfortable because we all go through challenge. And so we don't
Mhm.
want to shy away necessarily from a challenge. So if the issue is just it's something new to me, then that's my opportunity to step up, to step into the challenge, to show up for myself, to surprise myself even. Because if someone, especially if it's something someone presented to you, they're already showing you the faith and trust that they have in you to begin with. The protective no is this makes me uncomfortable in a way of I'm not sure if it's safe. I'm not able to, the words that I say are not mine. I mean, I don't feel like I'm showing up as me when I have this conversation or when I present whatever this is. Or it's just something I completely don't stand behind. I don't agree with it. And so I don't want to be the one to be the spokesperson for something that I honestly, it's against my goals, my morals, my values, any of those things. And we have every right to give those protective notes without consequence.
I am glad that you gave permission for that. That you gave permission for people to be able to say no
Hmm.
and not face consequences,
Right,
but
right,
also not feel guilty for
right.
saying no. Because a lot of times we'll say that no, but we will beat ourselves up about it. We will feel guilty about it. And
Hmm.
sometimes we talk ourselves back into saying yes when we should have stood on the no.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
I remember I read this was years ago. I don't even remember where I read it, but it said no is a complete sentence.
And it is. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. And we often will say no, and we're like, because and then you don't have to explain your no. You don't have to explain why you chose to not, be a part of whatever that situation is. And sometimes I get it, especially if it's, and sometimes people may ask, oh, do you mind if I ask why? Or do you want to go to this party? No. Mm-mm. And that's just it. And if you feel the need to go, further, then fine, do that. But my no is enough.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love the way you said that. I love the way you said that. No is enough. Oh, my goodness. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good. That's good. Let's talk about team dynamics
Yeah.
within bold leadership. How
Mhm.
can leaders model balance for their teams without losing authority?
Leaders set the precedence. And so when you show up and you show up for your team and you're like, you let them know, I'm here to support you. I'm here for whatever you need. You could still delegate, but you're also there as a support system. If you need help, I'm here. If you have questions, I'm here. And they see you as a picture of a authority that allows them to respect you, but also allowing them to give you feedback. Because when you allow them to give you feedback, they feel like they are part of the team, and they still respect your position as the leader of the team. I think we really only the only time we're concerned about keeping our authority or being seen as the leader is when we try to put ourselves above the team or above everyone else. But we're all working together towards a common goal. My title may be different and my salary may be different, but the fact is, if you fail, I fail, and if I
True.
fail, you fail. So we all need each other. And so when we take out, you know, who has what title and just work together, it's not even about, um, you don't worry about the authority because we're all doing this together and we all have the same level of respect for each other.
What does team dynamics, team culture have to do with either adding to burnout
Mhm.
or decreasing burnout?
Again, as a leader, you're setting the tone. So if I'm every time I leave, hey, I have to leave early, but if you need me, call me. I'm available. Hey, I'm available anytime. If it's the weekend, that's fine. If you need me late at night, that's fine. I'm going on PTO, that's fine. So then the team feels like that's the dynamic of our team, and that's how we all have to show up. And now everybody's burnt out and aggravated and angry. But when I set my boundaries, my team feels more comfortable to set their boundaries because I can say all day long, no, go ahead and enjoy your time off. And they will say, oh, okay. But if you need me, though, I can answer the phone because almost as if there's a fear of they don't want to be seen as not being committed to their role or lazy or not, dedicated, incompetent, any of those things because they decided to enjoy the 8 hours of time that they were able to take off or whatever it is. So I think as a leader, you set the precedence, and how you show up is how your team shows up because they're watching you.
How do bold leaders empower other people to be bold in whatever capacity that's in?
hmm it goes back to that being unapologetic,
Hmm.
unapologetically you. I was going to get it out at some point. Uh, but there's a level of respect. It's hardly ever about what you say. It's what you do and how you show up because people are always watching. They're
Hmm.
always watching. They always see what you do and how you move. And so, for example, for the most part, the organizations that I worked with were had a fairly relaxed dress code when I was in corporate. Um, I mean, you can wear shorts and things like that, but it wasn't a suit and tie every day type of event. For me, I always dress in, professional wear. On Friday, I wore jeans. Otherwise, you didn't see me in jeans, sneakers, flip flops, like none of that stuff. And even though there were people who did it, and even people who may have been above me who, showed up however they did, I always showed up for where I wanted to be. And I always knew that I needed to represent myself the best way possible because people look at how you show up, and that determines how they approach you, their respect for you, all of those things. A lot of times it's in the things you don't even say that people see and kind of see how you move. And so it was always making sure I showed up for me, making sure I was professional, um, listening to my emotional intelligence and saying, you know what? No, I don't want to comment right now, but I'll talk to you later about whatever the thing is, because I knew maybe that moment wasn't the best moment. And it wasn't about being the loudest one in the room. It wasn't about having all of the answers, but it was just about showing up confidently in who I was and then allowing others to see that and really step into that as well.
You've spoken about self care throughout this conversation, Sherrika. What is your definition of self care in leadership?
I think it's anything that allows you to reset. Now, what it's not is if you feel like every day when you get home, the only way that I can calm down is if I have a few glasses of wine. We're probably starting on some bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like, you know what, if I can just get me 30 minutes, I'm going to go out. I don't have to eat. I don't have to, I don't have to be around anyone else. Maybe I'll just go sit in my car. I don't even have to leave. Or if you're at home, you can set that time on your calendar. But for me, it's doing things like that that allows you to step back and reset and really not have to think about anything if you don't want to. And so it's not like, oh, I'm going to take an hour away, but I'm going to go and start looking at my personal finances and doing my budget and doing all. No, because you're still going, going, going. But
Right.
having that care is having a moment for me. It's Sunday. Sunday afternoons, I sit. I sit. And I may watch a little TV. I may take me a nap. And there are things to do. There are always things to do. There may be clothes that need to be folded. There may be emails that I need to send out. There's always something to do. But I can't show up in any of those other spaces if I don't first show up for me and allow myself to be refueled. You can't run on empty. You can't pour from an empty cup.
You know what? You actually answered my next question. My next question was about the importance of rest and recovery as a leader.
Mm,
But you really have answered that because I think people do not take rest and recovery as, important as it really, really is. They feel
mm-mm.
like they can, get in a nap or get in a couple hours and I'm good for the day.
Yep.
But you really, really need that rest and recovery,
Yes.
especially to be a bold leader.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's biblical. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Have your rest. Take a breath. Like,
Yes.
who are you? Who do you think you are where you are so important that you can't, like, the world can't function unless you're just doing something? Like, calm down. Go somewhere and sit
It's like,
down.
calm down.
Like,
How
who is
can
we are?
So staying in that same lane of rest
Yeah.
and recovery, how can leaders reframe rest as strength instead of weakness?
And you know what? I think that's the problem. A lot of people, and I was definitely on that side at one point. It was like, oh, rest is lazy. It's so much more that you could be doing with your time. You aren't goal oriented. You aren't showing up for yourself because you're not doing. But it's a lot of times in those moments of rest where I have ideas about things that I'm like, oh, what if I did this? Oh, maybe I should try this or something I may have been working on and I couldn't figure it out. And I walk away and it's like, oh, and the answer just comes to me. Now I've gotten to where I have notepads everywhere because it's just in those random moments, something will come up and I'm like, oh, let me write that down because I don't want to forget it. And sometimes we get so caught up in going and doing, and I have this goal and I have these things, but you can be so much more effective if you take that time and honestly let go of other people's opinions of what you're doing with your time and in your space. Because that's often where that comes from, that, oh, it's weak, oh, it's lazy, oh, it's this. I don't want other people to think, whatever. Well, they're going to think I'm well and I'm healthy and I'm happy
And
because
I'm
I
going to
took
look well and I'm going to look healthy and I'm going to look happy too.
yes.
Yes. So we've
Yes.
been talking about burnout. For the people that are watching you right now, Sharika,
Mhm.
that have experienced burnout, maybe they're going through burnout right now. How do you rebuild after going through burnout or experiencing burnout?
I think this is definitely where speaking up for yourself plays a part,
Mhm.
advocating for yourself. This is where you need to state those things that you need, whether it's in to your family, whether it's to, in your at work. Um, I give an example of both. So like personally, I remember I was, I'm typically the one that washes all of the clothes, and it's five of us, me, my husband, three kids, and a dog. And so I was always the one who, let me separate the clothes, let me wash the clothes, let me dry the clothes, fold them, hang all the things. I did everything but wear 'em. And I was thinking one day, I was like, man, I'm so tired, but I need to get these clothes washed. And it was like, wait a minute, it is five people in this house. Five. I don't have to do this all by myself. And so I told my husband, like, hey, if you do this, you go ahead and separate them or do this part, then I'll do this part. And I told the kids, my kids right now are, I'm about to forget how old they are, 16, 15, and my youngest just turned 12. They have been washing their own clothes for a few years now, including my 12-year-old, because I was like, just because you're a certain age doesn't mean you can't do something. And I don't like when I hear people say, oh, they're only this. No, let me show you how to use a washing machine. And we
Right.
started off with, let me show you how to separate the loads. Okay, you did that. Now let me show you how to use the washing machine. And next time you do it and I'll watch it and make sure that you're doing it okay. And now it's to the point where, oh, I need to go wash a load, and they go wash their own stuff. But it was a way for me to get some of my time back and my peace back, and not, oh, I need my uniform by tomorrow. Oh, I need this. Oh, for now it's, oh, I need my uniform by tomorrow. So let me go put a load in. Good job. Thank you. Thank you for that. And
Thank you
so,
for that.
yes, thank you for that. The most I get now is, can you put my clothes in the dryer when they finish? Absolutely, I can do that. And in our professional space, it's the same thing. And often it's in how we delegate. Sometimes we think that we need to have all of the control, and when we delegate, we lose control. No, in delegating, you're showing how much control and you have and how you can lead. You're also showing your team how you trust them, because that helps them to build a trust in themselves. And I remember having an employee on my team who was she worked really hard, great employee, and I wanted to show her a different part of accounting that she wasn't as familiar with. And she was like, oh, I don't know. I'm not. And I'm like, look how well you do this. I don't have to come behind you for your work. You send me your journals. They're getting approved. I don't have to ask for additional support. All of these things. I'm like, and I absolutely think this is something that you can do and learn. And it will be something that can benefit you down the line as far as your resume. And encouraging her. And it wasn't just encouraging her because I wanted her to do it, but I wanted her to see herself the same way that I saw her. And so it's really just about making sure you take some of that stuff off of you and give it to other people, but then don't try to step back in and take over. Oh, wait, I didn't like how you did that part, so I'm just gonna
Right.
take it back. No, no, leave it and let them have it.
Right, right. How do you, or what advice would you give leaders who, number one, are delegating, but, maybe feel guilty about
Mhm.
delegating and about slowing down, feeling guilty about slowing down and setting those boundaries and saying those protective no's?
It goes back to the self-care part,
Hmm.
because you can't show up for them if you're not well, and that can be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, how whatever phase it is. But you can't show up for someone else if you're not well. And if your concern about delegating is the lack of control, then that's a whole nother issue that we need to look at, because leadership isn't about control. It's not about telling everybody else what to do. It's, you are seen as a position of authority and as someone who can guide and help, kind of show others the way, not necessarily barking orders and you do this and you do that and all of these. And so if you look at it that way, as I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you grow. I'm here to help you get this role so I can go to my next one. And if you
Mhm.
look at it more so like that, then, oh, my teaching you this means I put my role at risk. And now, you're going to come and take my place. Then there are some things of issues of insecurity that we're looking at, a lack of self confidence. And that's in the person. And some things that we probably need to get some help on before we try to even step into leadership.
As we get ready to wrap up, Sherrika, I have a few more questions.
Mhm.
What one piece of advice, and I'm sure you have many, but what one piece of advice or what one message would you want to leave the next generation of bold leaders?
So, uh, my daughter, again, we were having this conversation recently, and she said, people keep saying that, and she's 16, and she's like, people keep saying that my age range, I'll say, um, so hers, and I'll say even to like mid 20, that we're weak. And but I don't think we're weak. We go through a lot of the same things that people went through before us. And I said, no, I said, I think what it is you all are much more likely to speak up for yourself than like my generation did. We, if something happened and we didn't like something at work, or we didn't like something our parents said, or something that a teacher did to us, we just took it. And it was there in a position of authority, so we can't say anything. And it is what it is, no matter how it made us feel. I say, and in your generation, and while it doesn't have to be, disrespectful, you all speak up for yourselves. And so that would be the advice that I would give, to continue to advocate for you, because you need to be able to do that when no one else will. And you will find sometimes there are people who will, but more often than not, no. And you need to be able to say, you know what, well, this goes against my beliefs. And it doesn't have to be rude, it doesn't have to be disrespectful, but you have to show that you have established boundaries, you're respectful of your own boundaries, and then just, showing up for you and speaking up for you and the things that you believe in. And even a quote that I heard a while back, and I just love it, stuck with me, is one, and it says, you're not crazy, you're just first. And
Oh,
so, really, don't get caught up in the opinions of others because you're doing something that looks different than what they've seen or what they expect. You have your own path. You stay on that path that God has for you, doing what you're called to do, and let them figure out their own thing.
and I will add to the story that you told about your daughter. Your daughter's generation and the generations after her, they have parents and they have adults in their life that have taught them how to
Mm-hmm.
speak up and
Yes,
have created a safe space for them to
yes,
speak up.
yes.
Whereas with our generation and all the generations before us,
Right.
that was never an opportunity, that
Mm-mm,
was never even a thought.
mm-mm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
it's not weak, it's you've been taught how to do
Yeah,
this and you've
yeah,
been given a safe space to do
yeah.
this. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe, and it's probably like the older adults that are saying that they're weak,
Yeah.
they're probably just upset that they did not have that opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
speak up and to
Mm-hmm.
say, I don't like this, or I don't like the way
Mm-hmm.
you're treating me. I don't like the way I feel in this situation.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
Okay, so you have been in this space for about 3 years of coaching and mentoring bold leaders and leaders in general. What is your intention in this space now?
So I think that's a great question. It's to help that person who, honestly, I used to be the one that thought that hustle was okay, the one who chased the dollars because she thought that that was how what success looked like. Um, and so it's really just to help women specifically, honestly, understand that You can have all of these things. You can have the family, you can have the career, but let me show you how to show up for you, how to speak up for you, how to have these things, but still have your time, to not feel overwhelmed and burnt out. And also to show up as a leader, but know how to be led.
Yeah, that was good. If I didn't have one more question, I would end the podcast on that. That was real good. That was real good. Okay, so my final question for you, Miss Sanders, who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast? But you have to help me get them on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great colleague turned friend of mine. Her name is Hadi Diallo. She is a leadership coach. She's a leadership coach overall, but more recently, she has been really focused on BIPOC women and really just helping that, I'll even say generation,
Mhm.
but helping these women to show up boldly in leadership, to speak up for themselves, and really give them someone that they can look up to understand this is how I can show up and still be me and still progress in my career.
Excellent. I cannot wait to learn from her. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and imparting all of your wisdom, your lived wisdom, onto myself and to my community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for the invite, and I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. To my community, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get Sherrika's podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.